So what's a good place to start? Well, there's a couple basic tools that you should have on your machine, and I'm going to start with a couple of Mac specific tools. So first is a tool called Home Brew. So you have a lot of times where you're installing things in your computer, you're trying to find the website, you're trying to find the right package, the latest version, then you're going to have to try to keep them all up to date over time. Homebrew is just a pretty nice package manager that we can use to do that on our computer. So I can either go to brew.sh directly, or I can just do this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take the Google approach, right? We've never heard of this. Let's see. Hey, look, it's the first link outside of the ad for my local brewing company. So I click Homebrew and I can learn more about it. And you'll see here, I can start pasting things into my terminal. So if you're not familiar with the terminal, you're not very used to it yet, we'll get there over time. So what this is going to allow us to do is to go open our terminal window and just do some simple things in order to get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, this says to use the terminal window. It can't be this easy, right? Well, let's try it out. So I've copied that here. Got my terminal window. I just opened it on the other side. Let's bring it over. All right. So let's see what I've got. So I'm going to, looks like I've been running something else here. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in here and hit enter. And I said, hey, this is going to install all this stuff. Now you might see an error because I already have this, but let's hit it anyway. All right, here's my password. And it's going to work. That's all it takes to install Homebrew. Now, there's no user interface to this, right? It is just a tool that's going to allow me to install things that we're going to go through in the future, whether it's RR Studio, Anaconda, so that we can get to Jupyter notebooks, or I'm talking about I want to get a new terminal like iTerm 2, which is what I've got running here, which we're going to do, I think, is the next tool. And instead of going and finding it online and finding the version I want to download and being able to keep it updated through time, all I'm going to do is install it in Homebrew. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pause the video for a second and let this run through. And once it completes, I will take and start to show you a few different options that make this worth using. Okay, and it finished up. And what you'll see over here is I got a couple of links to some documentation. So we're good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and show you some commands over here. So I went to the documentation, frequently asked questions, and what's the power of Homebrew is that you can update everything at once in this package manager. So for example, I can run something like brew update, and we'll just see what we get. Hey, look, I'm already up to date because I just downloaded it. I can also check other packages that might be on my computer and say, hey, brew outdated. And let's just see what I've got. I've got a lot of outdated stuff. So I've been running this for a while, right? And you see I've got old Amazon CLI scripts, Elasticsearch, Kibana. My Kubernetes CLI is old, my Python versions. And that'd be a lot of stuff to go find myself. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to go brew upgrade, and it's going to take care of that for me. So just like last time, I'm going to let that run for just a second. This won't take long, but I don't want to keep you here waiting. Okay, and that's it. That took just a few minutes because I had a lot of stuff to upgrade, and hopefully I don't have to do that again for a while. Just a note here. So, not a lot to show you here with Homebrew because it's a command line interface tool. In case you're not very familiar with command line interfaces, though, basically what happens is I have a program that I just added to my computer, and to access it, I need to type in something like brew. So that tells the terminal, hey, you need to reach out to this particular place to run a command. And then the next command would be something like, okay, I want to use brew's install command, and it's going to go look wherever it tells install to look for X. So I can type in an application name and hit enter, and we'll see if that exists. And it's going to go out and look on the internet. And if there's something called test, and there was, hey, guess what? It went, oh, nope, it said there wasn't. So there you go. So it went and checked for me though, right? It said, hey, I'm going to look out there and see if there's anything named test in this community. There's nothing, there's nothing, there's nothing. You might have actually met some of these things, but I didn't find anything named test. So it's pretty simple. So if I was doing brew install something like Kavana, I've already had that on my system, but that would run, right? And you might not be familiar with that tool, but not a big deal. We'll get there in a little while. So just a note on some of these. So there's the AWS command line interface. If you want to interact with the AWS cloud at all, well, what happens is for Amazon Web Services, they've given you this program to run on your computer, and it's headless, which means it doesn't have a user interface. And I just type in AWS space, and then the next thing that I'm going to type, it's going to go look in AWS to see if there's a command. So whereas on a normal computer here, I might do a secure copy. I can use AWS's copy function. In fact, it might be something shorter than that, but I'm just going to type copy for now. And it's going to go to AWS and try to find that command and then do whatever arguments I pass in. So that's just a little extra here on how the command line interface works. So there you go. We added a tool. We now have Home Brew on our machines. It makes it much easier to manage packages. It doesn't come on your normal Mac. So there you go. There's a useful command line tool. You can start to open up this scary window and look more like a pro. Or if you've already been here before, but you just haven't used Homebrew, I highly recommend getting out there and trying it. So that's it for this quick tutorial. We're going to come back next, and we're going to cover a few things using Homebrew and the GUI to install programs to increase your familiarity and hopefully lower that barrier to entry. Thanks for coming.